president telling you on the line that he's not interested in extending this ceasefire. What do we make of that?
Yeah, thank you, Joe. And back at you. A couple things. I think one of the takeaways was certainly that he said it was unlikely that he would extend the ceasefire. That seems to be his way of maintaining leverage and holding leverage over Iran. He also said he was not in a hurry to get a deal because he didn't want to rush into a bad deal. And he was critical of people in Congress for what he considered pressure to do that. So I thought that was interesting. He also had a bit of an optimistic note when he said that the deal or that the talks could work out well for everyone. And he talked about the fact that it'll be Vice President Vance along with Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff who are going to Islamabad for those talks. But the broad sense, Joe, that I got from him based on what he said is that he's not in a hurry. And that's a shift from the sentiment that he was sharing last week, which really seemed to be, I'm ready to be done with this war.
All right. How many rings, Jeff? What was his mood when he answered?
There were several rings, but he was, he picked up and he talked about how he liked having a direct line like this. So I thought that was interesting for somebody who essentially serves as his own chief of staff, his own press secretary. Having a direct line with reporters is appealing.
It's amazing, actually. I mean, we can digress on this for a moment. You've been covering the White House for some time, Jeff. This is remarkable that it has evolved into the primary method of disseminating news from the president of the United States is people like you getting his cell phone number. What do you think of this?
I will say that it is certainly unusual. There's not another president that I have covered who I have gotten directly on the phone for an interview. So that is unusual. But President Trump is an unusual president, and certainly running an untraditional White House. So it is in line with how he likes to govern and how he likes to communicate.
Did he talk about the operation seizing this cargo ship? Jeff, did you guys have time to get into that?
He didn't talk specifically about that, but I will tell you, and this didn't make it into the Bloomberg story that we have on the wire yet. I asked him if he thought that Iran had leverage, and that question really got under his skin, really bothered him. and I was just asking, obviously, if he thought that, and he said, no, I have all the leverage. They don't have leverage. I've got another 5 ships that I can take if I have to. So that was the reference to the ship that you were just referring to. It definitely doesn't land well with him if there's any suggestion, even in a question, like I was asking, that Iran has leverage, and the truth is it does, and that leverage is related to the Strait of Hormuz. So the president is trying to take over that leverage with the U.S. blockade, which he also said would not be lifted until there's a deal. But Iran certainly does have power there, and that's power that they've exerted during this war for the first time.
Imagine if LBJ had a cell phone. Like, this could have been wild. Did he add a day, Jeff? He says it's Wednesday evening, Washington time, the end of the ceasefire. I thought it was Tuesday.
It does seem like he added a day. And the way that part of the conversation went, I asked him if he was going to lift the ceasefire, and he said no. And I said, that's tomorrow night, right? And he started by saying, yes, tomorrow night. And then he stopped and he said, no, it's Wednesday night. Please get that out there and make that clear that it's Wednesday night, Washington time. So that is a slight extension from what people assumed was a 2-week deadline that would have ended tomorrow. It also gives just a little bit of wiggle room for the negotiators who are set to meet supposedly on Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, he said. Wow. So that would give them a day. Again, another fact check, Joe. The last time there was a major peace agreement on Iran's nuclear capabilities was hashed out during the Obama administration, and that agreement took a year and a half. So this is a pretty short timeline, if in fact the president is serious about that, for them to get an agreement done before fighting could start again.
Did you guys all hear what Jeff Mason just said? The president, Donald Trump, told Jeff Mason on the phone today, I need you to get this out. The deadline is the end of the day, Wednesday. That could be its own headline in another world, Jeff. President adds 1 day to ceasefire. Does that tell us that he does not want to escalate militarily?
You know what I would say to that is, again, mixed messages. He both does
Uh-huh.
not want to lift the ceasefire and wants there to be at least a little bit of time for talks to happen. He spoke a little bit positively about saying this could be good for uh, all parties involved, and he said specifically he hoped that I would report that. So
Wow.
yes, it could be good for all parties involved if they receive a deal, according to the president, if they get to a deal. And yet the president is also saying, again, he's not willing to or not likely to lift that ceasefire, and that fighting
Mhm.
could resume right as soon as that deadline expires. And the deadline is that he described is now Wednesday night.